You're listening to the Conscious Her podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking about the 5 essential ingredients to discovering your gifts and abilities and how you too can authentically develop your own. I'm also going to be discussing my specific gifts and abilities and how I developed them over time. And then finally, I'm going to share with you what you can do right now to get started. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Kimberly Morrow, and you're listening to the Conscious Her podcast. The Conscious Her is an accessible online platform and community of conscious women that are empaths, highly sensitive people, and intuitives who are both curious and passionate about spiritual and energetic self-development. As a professional psychic medium, spiritual guide and mentor, intuitive energy healer, and channel for over 5 years now, I dedicate my life to reconnecting energetically sensitive women to the divine within themselves so that they can live the most fulfilling, rewarding, and transformational life possible by remembering who they are and why they're here. If you're looking to learn how to leverage and apply your incredible energetic gifts in your personal and professional life and utilize your intuition and sensitivity as your personal superpowers, this podcast is for you. So let's dive into today's discussion right now. Hey, beautiful light being, and welcome to the Conscious Her podcast. Welcome to episode number 4. I'm so excited to share this episode with you today because I had so much fun creating it with the spirit realm, and I want to let you know right off the bat that much of this episode was channeled. And what I mean by that is, as I was writing out the talking points for this episode, I had spirit flowing through me for most of it. So you'll see what I mean shortly. Whenever I introduce myself in this field or in this industry, I always describe myself as a psychic medium, a spiritual guide and mentor, an intuitive energy healer, and a spirit channel, or sometimes I say spirit worker, and those are more professions. Some of my gifts so far include being an empath, highly sensitive person, and intuitive. I read and see energy as a psychic medium. I am highly telepathic, clairvoyant, clairsentient, claircognizant, clairaudient, and clairalient. I also get premonitions through my dreams, more so this past year and a half. Additionally, there are several different types of mediumship that I practice, and I don't think a lot of people know this about mediumship, but there's different types. And when it comes to my mediumship, I typically am using mental, spiritual, and evidential mediumship in my practice. So in simple terms, I just want to go through those with you so you understand. In simple terms, mental mediumship means that I communicate with spirit mainly through the use of telepathy. So spirit impresses my mind and body with thoughts and feelings that come in the form of the clairs or psychic senses. I mentally hear, which is clairaudience, see, which is clairvoyance, know, which is claircognizance, and feel, which is clairsentience, messages from spirit guides. I like to say that I act as a bridge between the spiritual and the physical world. This is my kind of natural go-to form that I gravitate to with any type of client or group session. And then spiritual mediumship is the reception and delivery of messages from the spirit realm or the discarnate. This can also include other forms of consciousness like pets, plants, etc. And these messages are usually delivered through speaking or writing and can be received through support from divination tools like tarot cards or pendulums. I rarely use divination tools for readings, and I prefer to connect with the spirit realm or higher realms of consciousness directly. And then there's evidential mediumship. And that's when I connect with a transitioned loved one in the spirit world for a client. And this is done through collecting details of that loved one and then presenting them to the client to form a connection. And then after that, I deliver messages directly to the client from that loved one. And many times loved ones contact me first to let me know they are there for the session, but not all loved ones talk or deliver messages to their relatives, which is really interesting. And I find that happens often during any type of healing session. Everything I've mentioned here, I use very frequently in my daily life because, of course, that's what I do for a living. And using my gifts and abilities to serve others is one of my greatest passions, if not the greatest passion that I have. So I'm always tapping into many different frequencies and dimensions. Outside of this, when I'm not connected or tapped into the spirit realm directly, I'm very reliant on my intuition and take it as my priority and authority in my life for direction, which is something that I have had to learn many, many times before I actually took it seriously. I also work with my highly sensitive soul, or my energetic sensitivity now, as a resource and as a tool. And I have a very good handle on it. I call upon my spirit guides for very basic questions and leave it at that, unless I'm at my mediumship practice circle, which I do every other week. And if you listen to episode number 2, you'd know that I wasn't born with any of these profound gifts or abilities. I didn't have any grand or memorable paranormal experiences or visitations when I was younger. The only thing I knew was that I was naturally intuitive and that I could see and read energy very accurately. I didn't know I was a highly sensitive soul, and I also didn't know about any of the gifts or abilities that laid dormant in me. So you might be asking, how the heck did you get to this point, Kim? Where on earth did you develop these abilities that you have now? And to be honest, that can't be answered in a very simplified way. Developing your gifts and abilities as a highly sensitive soul can be both easy and natural, and it can be challenging too. There's a multitude of moving parts involved in the beautiful unfolding of your natural gifts and abilities, and they're not something that can be forced or rushed. Many people who are highly sensitive souls fall on one end of the spectrum. So on one end of the spectrum, people face a lot of resistance and are in fear of their gifts and abilities. And on the other end of the spectrum, people are very impatient and or frustrated that their gifts and abilities aren't showing up fast enough because they want to use them right now. Then somewhere along that line, probably close to the former, there are some people that may say that they experience a lot of gifts and abilities naturally and that it upsets them because it's disturbing them and they feel like they can't control it. Either way, chances are you'll associate closer to one of those sides, and neither one of those extremes are going to get you very far at all. The one thing in common is that they imply a sense of powerlessness, a loss or absence of personal power and energetic sovereignty. In my professional opinion, taking your personal power back and your energetic sovereignty back is the number one step in developing and managing any type of gifts or abilities, regardless of what it is. Everything comes back to this, regardless of where you are on that spectrum that I was just describing. And to be honest, I never landed on either end of that spectrum. I probably fell somewhere in the middle. The other key thing for me is that I was never truly afraid, even though I had some concerns or hesitations in the beginning, especially when I started my Reiki training. I just didn't let fear overcome me. And I remained very open, receptive, curious about developing this side of me without any judgments against myself. I definitely credit that mindset I had to the development of my gifts and abilities. I also think my soul knew that this is what I needed to welcome into my life, not only to heal myself, but to align back to myself, my soul path, and my divine missions. When it comes to the development of our gifts and abilities, we have to trust in the universe and trust in divine timing, and that they will present themselves naturally when we are ready for them. And for those already experiencing profound gifts and abilities, it's usually about training or teaching you something that can be offered in the world to be of greater service to others. So it's about getting a handle on all of those experiences that you're having. Whether you choose to use that ability is part of your free will here as a human being. But there's one thing you must know. As a highly sensitive soul, so an empath, a highly sensitive person, or an intuitive, you've already got the built-in natural and innate gift to sense and interact with higher realms of consciousness and different forms of energies. You've already got the built-in natural and innate gifts to sense and interact with higher realms of consciousness and different forms of energies. So highlight and bold. Your reality effortlessly expands, flows, and transcends through the physical, external, and 3D reality into a multitude of dimensions and frequencies that put you in touch with various forms of consciousness beyond the earthly form. Our societal conditioning based inclination is to doubt our reality, to be skeptical about our experiences, to brush them off, to call them coincidences, to question ourselves, or my personal favorite, to think we're crazy. And as a result, most of us must overcome a lot of mind chatter, a lot of self-doubt, and a lot of deeply rooted mistrust in ourselves. As an energetically sensitive person, you already have an advantage over non-sensitive persons in terms of learning to communicate with powerful, loving, and supportive ethereal beings, such as spirit guides, angels, spirit teachers, ancestors, loved ones in spirit. You're able to literally read and translate energy from the universe as easily as you can read a book. And I know that's a pretty profound statement, but it's true, and we have just forgotten about that. The first step in developing your gifts and abilities is taking your personal power back and prioritizing your own energetic sovereignty. The second step is the real gut feeling, the knowing, the true acknowledgement that you actually have gifts and abilities, and that these gifts and abilities are natural for you as a highly sensitive soul. The third step is the inner knowing and understanding that you can actually use your gifts and abilities as a highly sensitive soul to enhance your life, to help you reach your greatest potentials in this lifetime, and most importantly, to be in service to others. A gift isn't a gift until it is shared for the highest and best good of all. When you actually get this, you'll start to view the world with a very different, refreshing lens. You start to understand that you truly are a divine, eternal, and cosmic light being. See, the problem right now is you're viewing everything right now through the human 3D interpretation of a highly sensitive soul and an energetically sensitive person. And all of that has translated into severe limiting beliefs about yourself. And I'm here to tell you that it's all an illusion. Fear, paranoia, lack, scarcity, comparison, competition, blame, it's all an illusion. Whether or not you want to accept yourself and your sensitivity is another predicament in itself, but I want to let you know that as an energetically sensitive being, you'll experience a much richer, profound, magical, and miraculous life by simply honoring your current reality and letting your gifts work for you and serve you rather than believing they are against you. Now, once you've been able to add the first 3 ingredients into your internal wisdom and adapt them to your frequency, things start to shift. The first 3 ingredients are the most difficult because they're not steps that someone can go to tell you to do and go and get in a logical, methodical order. As much as your human brain would love that. These 3 ingredients are something that you must learn for yourself and that you must come to know for yourself as truth. It's a belief that you must carry. And just as a side note, I had to revisit and air quote, remeasure the first ingredients several times before I actually got the correct amount. The first was when I was working in the corporate world. The second, when I ended up in the ER with toxic shock syndrome. And the third, when I got reprimanded by a sound healing studio when they told me I was threatening them and that I couldn't have my own business and work there at the same time. Once I got the correct amount of the first ingredient, the acquisition of the second and third were much easier. See, the first 3 steps can take many, many years of your life, or they can take one major event, but the universe will always help you get there. The universe teaches you how to acquire these ingredients, these 3 ingredients, through many different moving parts in your life, through situations, circumstances, jobs, karma, people, relationships. That's always a beauty. These are often hard, yet very rewarding and transformational lessons. The universe is very creative. It gives you many challenging tasks, many obstacles, many different traumas and hardships. It might even give you a near-death experience if you're lucky. And I'm only half joking with that one because if you get to know the stories behind many different mediums and psychics and healers in the field, many of them have these experiences, including myself. And all of these, what they're doing is giving you perspective to learn, to evolve, to grow, and to have some massive realizations. And I'll tell you, it worked very well for me. And whether or not you're looking to develop your gifts and abilities, the universe is likely going to show you in some shape or form that they are needed for a unique and specific purpose and divine mission that only you can fulfill. If you're a highly sensitive soul, I do believe that this is part of your life here because you are meant to use your gifts and abilities. And if you have not listened to episode 1 yet on this whole topic, I really suggest that you do so you have a better understanding of what I'm talking about with this. Now, you have free will, so of course, you don't need to go to do anything with them. But if you do, then in my perspective, the universe is going to support you that much more. One thing that people don't get is that if and only if you have an authentic and heart-based desire to develop your gifts and abilities, and I'll tell you the majority of highly sensitive souls do, then that energy lives within you, and you already hold the frequency of those desires to meet them. This means that you know it is actually possible to develop them further in ways that you never thought possible or that you cannot yet see. In my case, all three ingredients, the first initial ingredients, happened gradually and naturally in stages, in direct alignment with everything that was happening in my life at the time. If you listen to episode 2, which was Unmasking the Woman Behind the Conscious Her, then you'll understand a little bit more about what I'm talking about here. If you haven't listened to that yet, go ahead and have a listen. Interestingly enough, these first three ingredients really didn't fully activate in my life until I had hit rock bottom, the deepest, darkest low of my life. I was so entrenched in my human 3D physical reality, not knowing who I was, and I had to get so far out of alignment with myself, my soul path, and my divine mission in order to kind of snap back and snap out of it and begin rebuilding, reawakening, and remembering. This is where everything turned for me in a very, very positive way with regards to my spirituality. And I started putting the pieces together again. I had a massive, massive spiritual awakening at that time. And then after that time moving forward, each year, I experienced smaller yet significant awakenings, and those played a key role in the opening of my gifts and abilities, which I won't get into detail here. Now, once you feel that shift of energy within you, that you hold the frequency to develop your gifts and abilities further for the highest and best good, not just for yourself, but of all, now you start radiating a vibration to help the universe bring you the right people, the right places, events, situations, circumstances to develop that gift or those abilities. Remember that these can be both positive and negative experiences, but they all work together to allow you to achieve your desire. So remember, they can be both positive and negative experiences, but they all work together. Which brings me to ingredient 4, which is to allow yourself to use your highly sensitive soul and your keen sense of intuition, which I know you have, to decipher which people, places, events, and so forth are actually beneficial to you and your development. This ingredient and the next one are incredibly, incredibly important. Ingredient number 4 is all about energetic resonance, and in particular, energetic resonance with those who can educate you, who can guide you, and who can mentor you to develop your gifts and abilities. Many people will show up here, and it's up to you to decipher who you resonate with. Who you resonate with. Bold and underline, resonate. When you understand the feeling of a deep resonance with someone, it's because that person has the ability to serve you in the most authentic, truest way possible. It is simply reading energy and following up with your intuition. You will hear me talking endlessly about resonance. Why? Because reading the energy of resonance in your body bypasses your mind, your human mind, your brain, and your ego. You can't meddle with it or sabotage it. It's a deep knowing, a familiarity, a comfort, a safety, a welcome, a warmth. I always tell people, do I resonate with you? Are you resonating with me? Are you drawn to me? Because if you are, then I know I can serve you and help you to genuinely develop your gifts and abilities. I don't try to work with anyone and everyone. I try to work with those where the connection is mutual and reciprocal, because I understand how this works. I only want to work with those who want to work with me, not just whoever I can, air quote, get. I work with the universe here. Once I acquired ingredient number 4 around 2017, it was roughly around the time when I had an increasing interest in learning the different levels of Reiki. In 2015, when I experienced my first Reiki session by my Reiki master, and in 2016, when I received my level 1 certification, I resonated really well. I resonated very well with my Reiki master, and I knew I needed to continue on with her. As I went through the different levels of Reiki, I also received attunements for each level. With each powerful attunement to the new and elevated or more advanced frequency of Reiki, I'll say, I opened up my gifts and abilities safely and surely. I then transferred these opening gifts to my business, which was Crystal Theory Jewelry, as Reiki-infused bracelets. And just a side note with this, while I was creating this handmade jewelry for people, I used to have a list of quotes that I liked, and I would attach my, whatever quote I chose to the bracelet and send it off to that customer. Over time, I got the download to stop using these lists of quotes from random people and to actually use my intuition to write out a message to the customer receiving the bracelet. Well, over time, I started getting really amazing feedback on the messages. Then I started offering personalized mini intuitive readings with each bracelet sold for free, which I would send to people digitally through Etsy. Then the feedback from that was pretty remarkable. This is how I got started giving readings, by the way, to people, and I continued on with that for quite some time. I just kept practicing. Later in 2017, when I met my mediumship mentor, who I met randomly, by the way, but had a magnetic connection with right off the bat, and I knew I needed to learn her intuition development courses as well, I proceeded to do that. I just followed my intuition. And then after the intuition development courses with her, I stayed in a mediumship practice circle with her, which I am still in to this day. So 4 years later. With her help, I was able to develop my psychic and mediumship abilities significantly, like profoundly. And she helped me to understand that I actually was a medium, because I never thought that I was one ever. Also in 2017, I began working for an incredible woman who I admire so much, who not only saw something special in me and believed in me, but she later allowed me to use her studio as a place where I could take my Reiki practicum with the Canadian Reiki Association, which is something that you must do to get practitioner status here in Canada. And that was in early 2018. I was able to take Reiki clients for free and practice with them and develop my gifts and abilities this way as well. Later in 2018, I also went on to take my animal Reiki certification with the Canadian Reiki Association once again as well, and developed a stronger connection to animals. And I did this with a woman I found who I was also drawn to. I later also took Heart Resonance Level 1 training in 2019, which gave me another type of attunement that was absolutely fascinating and also a very powerful healing technique. Again, I did this with a woman who I found and I was completely drawn to. And through all of my training and dedication to developing my gifts and abilities over these years, I was able to start 2 small businesses, Crystal Theory Jewelry and Kimberly Lauren Reiki, which later turned into Crystal Theory Co., which I have today, that gave me the chance to continuously practice and integrate everything I had learned and actually apply it, while at the same time strengthening my gifts until I was very, very confident in what I was doing. I could not have achieved what I did without all of those women to help me, to guide me, to mentor me, to educate me, to believe in me. All of these women were a part of my sacred path in developing my gifts and abilities as the conscious her. These are the types of people that I would trust with my life, type of connection, to give you perspective. And this brings me to the final ingredient number 5, which is actually practicing with intention, applying yourself, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people who can support you on your journey to develop your gifts and abilities. Developing your gifts and abilities is like going to the gym to exercise. The more you go, work out, and practice, the stronger and more toned you get. Some days you're committed and you work really hard, and other days you rest, you heal, and integrate. There's a natural ebb and flow here. But the main point is that you keep going. You stay dedicated, you stay consistent, even when you don't see results yet, and even when you can't tell if it's working, and even when no one else notices, you cheer yourself on. And if you're lucky enough to have a personal trainer, the better, the more effective, and the more efficient experience you will have, not to mention the safer experience you'll have. And then if you have friends or acquaintances who are also working on the same things as you are at the gym, you're more likely to bond, share, and connect, and to stay motivated. And then slowly and surely, it becomes part of your lifestyle. It then becomes a healthy habit, and then it becomes second nature. So do you see where I'm going here? Are you following my metaphor or analogy? There's plenty more where that came from. I'm here all day. Thank you very much. It is my wholehearted belief that if you want true and lasting success in developing your gifts and abilities, then you need to find yourself an authentic mentor that you trust and a community of supportive and like-minded people. And this is what I talk about frequently with the conscious her. This is what the conscious her is built upon. And I hope you can understand now why this is all so important. So, what can you do to start developing your gifts and abilities? I'm going to give you 3 simple steps right now. Number 1, give yourself the freedom to brainstorm what areas of life give you complete joy, what you're completely fascinated with or interested in. This is not limited to just being a psychic or a medium or a tarot card reader. It's anything that lights your soul up. This is where the secrets are. Interestingly enough, we live in a society that conditions us to believe the opposite of that. It's no wonder no one is ever that happy. Number 2, finally give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to explore what it is that gives you joy and that lights your soul up, regardless of what anyone or anything thinks. A good way to figure this out is asking yourself, what makes me lose complete track of time? What do I get so lost in with so much joy? Time flies. And for me, this is connecting with the spirit realm. This is providing and channeling Reiki to others. There's so many different things. My suggestion to you is to take the plunge with whatever this is and be unapologetic about it. Remember, this is your life. Maybe you've dabbled in this interest or passion, or maybe you've avoided it altogether. Now is the time to take this seriously and include it into your life as much as possible, even daily. This is where you will experience a lot of resistance from your external world, your 3D reality, and this is sometimes the hardest part about it to work through. When you do this, once you really start doing this in step number 2, you start signaling to the universe to help bring you the resources you need to help you develop your gifts and abilities. Remember that the universe wants you to start putting your energetic imprint out there, and it wants to assist you because that's what the universe designed you to do. Because we live in a human realm of free will, the universe can't make you do anything against your will. So when you actually remember and ignite that authentic desire within you, miracles start happening. Number 3, find yourself a mentor, a guide, or an educator who has achieved what you want in some shape or form. But not just anyone. Okay, not just anyone. Remember, you're looking for those people who you deeply resonate with and feel a sense of familiarity with. You're looking for that good energy to share. And know that there can be multiple people who will help you and who will lead you over time. You might outgrow someone and then be ready for the next level of training to develop your gifts and abilities and move on to someone else. The key part of this is that this person or these people will help you learn how to apply yourself, how to be intentional, how to practice, how to train, and they will keep you accountable so that you can actually learn. Number 3 is beautiful because usually it will be a great way for you to acquire ingredient number 5, which is surrounding yourself with like-minded people who can support you, who can really support you on your journey to develop your gifts and abilities without judgment. And then over time, you'll start to notice that you naturally and gradually adapt your life to reflect your developing gifts and abilities. And this, my friend, is what alignment feels like. This is where you start to uncover your divine missions. You see your soul path more clearly than ever before. And the closer in alignment you feel, the closer to source energy you become. Many women have told me that they felt personally drawn to my energy and felt an element of comfort or resonance or familiarity with me. And those have been the women who I've met through Crystal Theory Co. and through The Conscious Her, who have been a client of mine at some point, a member or attendee of a workshop, a class, or event. I'm a huge advocate for cross-referencing everything and everyone with my own intuition and my own internal guidance system. I believe that there is nothing more important than that because everything we need in life comes from within. We have the power at all times. Therefore, I'm always going to encourage you to follow your intuition and pay attention to what resonates with you. Now, I enjoy podcasts because you don't have to see me. You don't have to know what I look like, but you can get a good handle on my energy, my aura, who I am, and what I represent by listening to my voice. If you can feel my energy right now and it does not resonate with you or your energy field, I can say, Thank you so much for listening, and I completely understand that we may not be a vibrational match right now, and I will always wish you well. Most importantly, if you can feel my energy right now and everything is resonating with you, and you can feel a spark within you around this, please subscribe to this podcast, because I know that there is something for you here to learn from, to grow with, to expand on, to heal with. And I invite you to take this spiritual journey with me and my community. Secondly, if you resonate with what I'm saying here today and you feel like I might be a good person to teach you, to guide you, or to mentor you, you can head over to my website, www.theconsciousher.com, to find out more. If you haven't already, please connect with me over on Instagram and tell me what gifts and abilities you're interested in developing. What are you completely fascinated with, or that brings you total and utter joy? I'd absolutely love to know. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm sending you all the good energy in the world to inspire you to develop the gifts and abilities that you know in your heart are waiting for you to discover them. Have an amazing day and take care. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode and for listening to the Conscious Her podcast. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here and a part of our community. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure you subscribe and share it on your social media channels with your spiritual soul sisters, friends, family, and network. Chances are, if this resonated with you, it will for them too. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I'm here to help. You can email me at hello@theconsciousher.com, and I may even use your question or topic of discussion for a future podcast episode. If you want daily support for your highly sensitive soul, please visit me over on Instagram at theconsciousher. If you're interested in working with me, visit www.theconsciousher.com and be sure to subscribe to my mailing list. Finally, I do have a personal request. I believe that our purpose here is to heal ourselves and to serve others. And together, you and I can help more people. If you would please leave a positive review for this podcast on iTunes, I'd be so eternally grateful for your support. Thank you and have a great day.